comes from the inside out.
When we're living congruently with our values, there's happiness because there is that sense of wholeness.
Wholeness is when the way of your being matches the truth of your being.
Today we're going to be moving on to a part of the book where he describes 3 states of existence. He calls them attentions. There's the first, second, and third attention. And it's taken a minute to get to this point. We had the holiday, and then I actually caught COVID. So you might hear a little difference in my voice as I'm still recovering from COVID. And so we mark the time period in history with this idea of COVID right now. But I'm getting better, and I'm doing my best, which right now is not the 100% that I normally would be at. So I apologize if my voice cracks or things like that as we go throughout this. In chapter 9, he begins with the dream of the first attention, the first state that we talked about. The dream of the first attention, or we can say that it's the dream of the victims. This is him in the book, them in the book. Because we are victims of all the symbols that we create. We are victims of all the voices in our head. We are victims of all the superstitions and distortions in our knowledge. In the dream of the victims, where most people live, we are victimized by our religion, by our government, by our entire way of thinking and believing. So as we move through this and understand these states of being, we can see where we are, and then we can use the agreements to progress through these states that he's talking about. He uses a lot of different vocabulary words, and so here's a chance again to substitute words that work for you, that make sense for you in the concepts that he's teaching. That's the whole point of the book. In the beginning, he wants to explain that being in this victim place that I just quoted from the book, he says here, the adults prepare us to be part of our society, and the adults can only teach us what they know. They cannot teach us what they don't know. What they know is what they learned in their whole lives, and it's what they believed in their whole lives. You can be sure that your parents did the best they could for you at the time. If they didn't do better, it's because they didn't know better. They lived in the dream of the first attention, the underworld, the dream that we call Hades or hell. They were dead. And I just want to stop and think about, and I like maybe the idea of his word usage here of hell. And there's another word that's correlated to hell, and that's damnation, being stopped. Progression or moving forward is halted. So I want to stop for a minute and ponder hell. We don't do that very often because it's evil or dark. But I think if we stop for a minute, the concept begins to shift. Let me explain. So first of all, we think of hell as this physical pain and torment. I wonder about that, because when we die and we're without our physical bodies, then would a burning sensation or a torment, a physical torment, exist in the way that we speak of it? We never stop to really question that and think about that. What does that mean? Now, there could be a reuniting of the body and then a physical torment. And it's an interesting idea that decisions or the way we act here in this world would cause physical pain for eternity with no means of redemption. And if that's what you believe, I just challenge you to sit with that for a minute and ponder it and wonder if a physical torment is justice or not. I think it makes sense to think of anguish, maybe, if that's the concept that hell's trying to, the truth behind the word really is this anguish. It's the ability to not move forward, like damnation. The idea that there is no learning or growth, and that would be a real torture. However, the idea of learning or growth lies at our feet. There is no way for someone to learn or grow for us, or stop us from learning and therefore growing. I don't know how that works, if that could work. So while that may exist, that damnation that's unable to move forward, maybe the interpretation of that is put upon us, maybe our interpretation of the realities of this has been created in the first attention. Maybe that long-term version of stuck, of damnation, maybe that's come from this dream of the victims, that there's no way to progress forward. I don't know. That's just something to ponder if someone can take away our ability to learn and therefore grow. In the beginning of the chapter, he talks about the story of Adam and Eve. And a little further in, he says, in the story of Adam and Eve, we had a great exchange with a snake who lived in the tree of knowledge. That snake was a fallen angel who delivered distorted messages. He was the prince of lies, and we were innocent. The snake said to us, "Do you want to be like God?" A simple question, but can you see the trick, he says. If we had said, "No, thank you, I am already God," we would still be living in paradise. But we answered, "Yes, I want to be like God." We didn't notice the lie. We bit the fruit, we swallowed the lie, and we died. What makes us bite the apple without noticing the lie is the doubt. Before we have doubt, we don't even know the truth is there. We just live it. Earlier on, he talks about in the tree, the Garden of Eden, there were two trees, the tree of life, and therefore the opposite tree, or the tree of knowledge, which he uses that word quite a bit. So if you read and understand his use of the word knowledge with that context, it makes a lot of sense. There's a tree of life, he says, and the other tree is the tree of death, because that is what brought death to the world in the story of Adam and Eve. We were all born into this state of, quote, death for the first attention, or the dream of the victims. This unaliveness, right? Living a zombie state in this idea of this first attention or dream of the victims. In the book, they write, is it the real you that creates all the drama and suffering in your life? Is it the real you who says life is a valley of tears and we come here to suffer? Is it the real you who judges yourself and punishes yourself and invites other people to punish you too? Is it the real you who abuses your body? Is it the real you who doesn't even like yourself? Is it really the real you who's dreaming all of that? No, it is not the real you. You are dead, and that is the truth. And what is the key to coming back to life? Awareness. When you recover awareness, you resurrect and come back to life. In the Christian tradition, the resurrection day is when Christ comes back from the dead and shows his divinity to the world. And that is why you are here, to come back from the dead and reclaim your own divinity. So in order to manifest that resurrection, or the ability to declare divinity within you, awareness is the first key. And with that awareness, we move into the second state that he calls the second attention, or maybe we could even use the word awareness instead of attention. So we become aware, and therefore we move forward. And once again, we reclaim ourselves, because we had that state at one time in the past. As a young child, we didn't have all those lies overlapping our truth. So once we become aware, we move into the second state that he calls the second attention, or the dream of the warriors. And this brings us to chapter 10. He explains about this attention. This is what the Toltec call the dream of the second attention, or the dream of the warriors, because now we declare a war against all the lies in our knowledge. In the dream of the second attention, we begin to doubt. Maybe everything I learned is not true. We begin to challenge what we believe. We start to question all the opinions that we learned. We know there is something in our heads that makes us do many things that perhaps we don't want to do, something that has complete control of our mind, and we don't like it. And because we don't like it, at a certain point, we begin to rebel. In that rebellion, we try to recover our authenticity, what I call the integrity of the self, or the totality of who we are. In the dream of the first attention, the authentic self has no chance. It's a complete victim. We don't rebel. We don't even try. But now we no longer want to be the victim, and we try to change our world. We try to recover our personal freedom, the freedom to be who we really are, the freedom to do what we really want to do. The world of the warrior is the world of trying. We try to change the world that we don't like, and we try and we keep trying, and the war looks endless. He continues, in the dream of the warriors, we are in a war, but that war is not against other people. It has nothing to do with the outside dream. The whole thing is happening inside our mind. It's a war against the part of our mind that makes all the choices that guide us into our personal hell. It's a war between the authentic self and what we call the tyrant, the big judge, the book of law, the belief system, or I'll insert, what do you call it? It's a war between ideas, between opinions, between beliefs. I also call it the war of the gods, because all these ideas fight for dominion of the human mind. And just like the gods of antiquity, they claim a human sacrifice. He goes on to point out all the ways that we sacrifice ourselves and others for opinions or desires or things that are really not truth or that may not be important in higher levels of consciousness. And he even says maybe it doesn't require a real physical death, but a dragging of a corpse. And I like the way he says, humans carry our past, our history around with us. And it's just like we're carrying a heavy corpse. For some, it's not that heavy, but for the majority of people, that corpse is very heavy. And it's not just heavy, it smells very bad. What many of us do is keep our corpse to share with the ones we love. With the powerful memory we have, we bring it to life in the present moment and relive our experiences again and again and again. Every time we remember those experiences, we punish ourselves and everyone else again and again and again. Humans are the only animals on the earth who punish themselves 1,000 times or more for the same mistake, and who punish everybody else 1,000 times or more for the same mistake. This is justice. In true justice, what's agreed upon, here's the debt is agreed upon, the action has happened, the mistake has happened, and there's usually an agreed upon price to be paid. And once that price has been paid, we should be back to center. It should be back to nothingness. The debt has been paid. But that's not how our society works. The punishment is there whether there is judgment on the outside or judgment on the inside. It just defines us. And that's not true justice. That's not real justice at all. He says, can you see how you, knowledge, are hurting you, the human? You're thinking and judging with all those symbols that you learned. You're creating a story that's abusing the humans. Whenever the human is abused, the normal reaction is anger, hate, jealousy, or any of the emotions that make us suffer. Our nervous system is a factory of emotions, and the emotions we experience depend on what we perceive. Well, we perceive our own judgments, our own belief system, our own voice of knowledge, and with the judge, the victim, and the belief system ruling our virtual world, the emotions we generate are fear, anger, jealousy, guilt, shame. I love the way he brings in the nervous system. Understanding the nervous system and how emotions play within it has been mind-blowing and life-changing for me in my life and in my relationships. If we understand the nervous system as similar to our respiratory system or our circulatory system, in the way that it runs in reaction to its stimulus and that it's automatic. For example, if we begin to run with our physical body, which is not our circulatory system, but our physical body, we begin to run, and our legs start to move quickly, our circulatory system will start to move quicker, meaning our heart will start to beat faster. And there's nothing that we have done to ignite that. It does that on its own. Same with the respiratory system. Our breathing automatically kicks in because of this other stimuli or us running. We don't have control over it. So in the same way, our nervous system's job is to react to stimulus in order to keep us feeling and being safe. when an emotion hits our nervous system, things begin to shift drastically. And if we don't understand it, we just keep running and running metaphorically. Like if we don't know that we've got to stop, if we don't understand, hey, my heart's running out, I need to stop running. Or my breath is running out, I'm running out of breath, I need to stop running. If we don't understand what that stop is, then it begins to damage. The nervous system starts to have reactions and it doesn't calm down. We have to recognize when the nervous system is engaged and do a process to interrupt, to slow it down and bring the nervous system back into rhythmic pace. So if we're running and our heart's beating too fast, or if we're out of breath, we need to stop and we need to pay attention. And the nervous system requires the same thing. We have not made the nervous system a priority, but maybe it's time that we do, because that nervous system is following a pattern that was implanted long, long ago, mostly in our childhood. He says in the book, all of us have emotional poison because all of us have emotional wounds. It happens. Just as it's normal for our body to hurt when we have a cut or when we fall and break a bone, it's normal for the emotional body to hurt because we are alive, because we are surrounded by predators, and we are predators also. But there's no one to blame, and it's just the way it is. If we blame, it's our emotional poison that makes us blame. Instead of blaming, we can take responsibility for our own healing. Taking responsibility looks like being impeccable with your word. Do not speak ill of yourself or others. You simply follow that rule until you move into a higher state of being and understand the wisdom. You also don't take anything personally. You don't make assumptions, and you always do your best. These are how you start to understand and tame the nervous system, the healing that he talks about. Then he says in the book, we come to this moment. So we come to this place where we're starting to use these tools. And he says in the book, then the moment comes when you start to see your whole creation from another point of view. You start to realize that you are the artistic creator of your life. You are the one who creates the canvas, the paint, the paintbrush, and the art. You are the one who gives meaning to every stroke on the canvas of your life. You are the one who invests all your faith in your art. And you say, the story I'm creating is beautiful, but I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe my story or anybody else's story. I can see that it's just art. Great. This moment is kind of a hitting the wall moment where all of a sudden we understand this. We've moved forward. We've kind of had this progression, but it kind of smacks us in the face because we now don't know what to believe. And there's these moments I think are hitting us all more commonly, where it's like the rug's been taken out from underneath us and we don't know what to do anymore. We just don't believe anything. And it can be tempting in this moment to move back into the first attention, letting others tell us what to think and how to feel and what to do and what to create, because there's this tension there, this pain. And this is a critical point for the fifth agreement: doubt, but learn to listen. Doubt the feeling or the idea of wanting to move backwards, or the idea that there's nothing to believe. Doubt it, and then learn to listen. They state in the book, of course, we can also use the power of doubt against ourselves, by doubting the truth. In the story of Adam and Eve, when we doubt that we are God, that doubt opens the door to another doubt and then another and another. When we doubt the truth, we start to believe in lies. Soon we believe in so many lies that we no longer see the truth and we fall from the dream of heaven. So it's not just about the doubt, because doubt can also lead us down a path to move us away from our dream of heaven, he says. So it's critical to learn to listen. Learning to listen is key. With all this understanding, when we get to this point, when we move into past this critical point where we doubt this, we understand that it's all our creation, we understand that nothing is really true, and then we push over this little bump and doubt the desire to go back, or the understanding that nothing matters or that nothing's true, then we move beyond into a new state of being. And he explains it this way. By the end of the dream of the second attention, the human form starts to break apart and your reality changes once again. It changes because you no longer perceive the world through a rigid structure of beliefs. The war is over because your faith is not invested in lies. Even though lies still exist, you no longer believe. As you know, the truth just is. You don't have to believe the truth. You don't believe anything anymore, but you can see. And what you can see is the truth. The truth is right here. It's unique and it's perfect. Maybe not the way you interpret it, maybe not the way you use the word to gossip about yourself or to gossip about other people, but once you see the truth, who cares what other people are dreaming? It's not important what other people around you are dreaming. What's important is your own experience, to use all of the tools you have to face what you believe, to see the truth. You don't need to compete with anybody. You don't need to compare yourself with anybody. You just need to be what you are, to be love. But just because you win against fear today, it doesn't mean that you have won the war. No, the war isn't over. The war has just begun. You are still judging. You still have all those issues. You think it's done, and boom, your tyrant is back. Oh yes, again and again and again. And it's not just the tyrant in you. It's the tyrant in everybody around you. And there are some that are worse than others, but even if you have been at war for many years, at least you can defend yourself. As a warrior, you may win the war or you may lose the war, but once you have awareness, you are no longer the victim. You are at war. And that's where the majority of people are right now, until the war is over. This takes us to chapter 11, where we learn about the dream of the second attention ending. He says, the dream of the second attention ends when something very important happens in our lives, something called the last judgment. This is the very last time we judge either ourselves or anybody else. It's the day we accept ourselves just the way we are, and we accept everybody else just the way they are. When the day of our last judgment comes, the war in our head is over and the dream of the third attention begins. We are no longer in the dream of the warriors. We are in the upper world, or what I call the dream of the masters. In the dream of the third attention, you finally have the awareness of what you are, but not with words. And because there are no words to explain what you are, you go back into peace, the place where you don't need to use words to know what you are. This is what the masters in the esoteric philosophies would reveal to their apprentices. The highest point you can reach is when you go beyond symbols and become one with life, with God. What if that were true? What if the final judgment was really the last time we judged ourselves or others? And then we interacted in the world from a perspective of complete peace and love. He says in the book this to describe this new state, this presence. They say, instead of using words, perhaps a better way is to put you face to face with God so you can see God. And if I show you God face to face, what you're going to see is yourself. Now, this quote is immense. It's a big one. Pay attention to any rejection or what's going on inside your body when you think about this quote, that if you stood face to face with God, what you're going to see is yourself. Here is an opportunity to doubt and to listen for the truth, for your truth, above and beyond the symbols of what this said in this quote. You are God. It may be easy for you to see it in a young child or in a mentor or in somebody that's vibrating at that higher frequency, somebody that you look up to, but if you see it in them, then it exists within you. They talk about in the book, they go on and have this talk about light, and it's a beautiful few pages. And they speak about a beautiful parallel of this concept of being God using the word light and understanding light and how everything is light. And if that's true, then science and religion comes together at this point where we say everything is light, then we are physically part of the universe, of God, everything like that. And speaking of light, they say the first time you open your eyes, you start to perceive light, and light becomes your teacher. Light projects information into your eyes that you don't understand, but you were made to perceive light, to become one with light. That's something to ponder, is just that idea of light. And like I say, this section, he talks about it quite a bit. They say in the book, in the dream of the third attention, the only thing that survives is the truth. So this state, he calls it the third mastery of the Toltec, the mastery of love, or what we also call it, the mastery of intent or faith. He describes it this way: in the moment when you master faith, you live your life in love, because love is what you are, and it's wonderful. In that moment, you completely accept your body, your emotions, your life, your story. You respect yourself. You respect all of the artists, all of your brothers and sisters. You respect all of creation. You love yourself unconditionally, and you are not afraid to express your love, to say, I love you to others. When you master faith, when you live your life in love, you see your own love being reflected in every secondary character of your story, and you love every secondary character of your story unconditionally, just as you love yourself. This changes your relationship with the rest of the humans. It makes you completely impersonal. You don't need reasons to love someone or not to love someone. You don't even choose to love, because the love is your nature. Love is coming out of you like the light from the sun. So that's this final state of existence where we progress through using the 5 agreements over and over again until this becomes part of who we are. In most traditions, there are ideas of these 3 states of places, or 3 progressions. And that's what this part of the book is trying to help us understand. When we bring our experiences into it and our understanding of our progression, the words that we use, we can start to play within that and understand and grow. So think about this as we end, about what the words your tradition uses in this 3 states of progression. What does that look like? What words have you used in your life? And ponder those and see how they parallel these levels of feeling dead, or the idea of not being able to progress, or being a victim, or of being a warrior, or of being a master. Next time we'll finish up the 5th agreement. We'll see you next time. We invite you to the wholenessnetwork.com, where you'll find the Wholeness Library. Inside, you'll find tutorials, downloads, mini classes, and all sorts of streaming content for you on your wholeness journey.